What do you think these boys had been told about the other group? Like, for example, the Israeli boys. Growing up, what do you think they have heard their whole lives about the Palestinians? Anybody?
They're terrible.
They're terrible. What else?
Terrorists.
What's that?
Terrorists.
They're terrorists. They're murderers. They're callous. And what do you think the Palestinians have been told about the Israelis?
Kill them.
They stole our land.
Same things, right? What did you say, Shannon?
They stole our land.
They stole our land. They're bad. They're evil. Well, these boys came together and they had a camp kind of like this. And they learned a lot of things, kind of like this camp has taught us. And at the very end, they had a war. They had a battle. Except instead of the Palestinians against the Israelis, it was Palestinians and Israelis and Jordanians and Egyptians against Palestinians, Israelis, Jordanians, and Egyptians. Does that make sense to everybody? And one of the boys, at the end of this camp, he was being interviewed by a very famous reporter. And he said, what was this war like? What was this battle like? And the Israeli kid said, you know, it was so amazing, this camp, because we sat and we talked about music that we liked. We talked about girls. We talked about school. We talked about our families. And we realized that we're not that different. And so the reporter asked again, well, what about this war? And he said, the Israeli said, it was a war like none other. Not a single drop of blood was spilled. We played games. We fought mock battles of games and sports. And at the end, instead of signing papers, we hugged and we swam together. And it was an awesome, awesome experience. The people we see as our enemies are not our enemies at all. They are the prize. They are the ground we must take. They are the victory. I told my pod another story this morning about World War II. There was a kid who was, at one point, he was 3. At another point in his life, he was 12. At another point, he was 15. And while he was young, at 12 and 13, 14, 15, he was involved in the scouting program. And he loved that. He learned a lot from that. And next thing you know, he was 21 or 22. And he found himself in Europe during World War II with the job to do what? To kill.
Kill the Nazis.
To kill. And after a long battle, the morning came and there was news that the Germans had broken through the line. So this boy who used to be a scout, who used to be a 3-year-old kid, who has a mom, who has a dad, this American boy, he went into this foxhole and he drug his buddy down in there with him, who was on the verge of death because of wounds. And he sat there as quietly and as silently as he could. And before long, he heard a sound, kind of like this. He was silent. He hoped that the branch that was over part of the foxhole covered it well enough. He hoped that the dirt that he had dug out of the hole, he had spread it out enough to not clue someone in that there was a foxhole right there. He was out of ammunition. And again, he heard that sound. Before long, he saw a boot. It wasn't an American boot, it was a German boot. And then he saw German hands. And then he saw a face come down into the foxhole with a pistol. And as soon as the German's eyes were able to kind of adjust, he could see that kid who used to be a young boy, just like your age, with a gun that didn't have any ammo, a friend who was half dead, just sitting there looking at him, face to face, pretty close. And the German soldier did what he had to do. Did what he was told to do. He cocked the gun back. He aimed it at the boy. And the boy didn't know what to do. He had no clue what to do. A little prayer in his heart. Please let my life have been enough, you know? This is it. This is over. Please let it have been enough. And all of a sudden, without even thinking, he didn't think about it. He didn't plan this. He did this. He didn't even know why he did it. He just did this. And the German soldier, his arm flexed to pull the trigger, relaxed a little bit. He looked at him, and he raised his arm, too. And he backed out of the hole and walked away. The people we see as our enemies are not our enemies at all. People are the prize. They are the ground we must take. They are the victory. Do not let the darkness, the evil, and the lies in this world tell you that another human being is your enemy. You may at some point have to kill someone. You may at some point have to go to battle. You might have to do that. But don't give in to the lie that those people are your enemies. They're your brothers. They're the ground you must take. They're the victory. And what can we do right now to win those people? What can we do to win that prize? Reach out to people. See them as your brothers and your sisters. See them as the prize. And don't give in to that idea that they're your enemies, because they're not.